talking about 230-something years here, going back to the beginning, but there's a very large majority of people, not majority, large group of people that believe the government was lost somewhere around the Civil War with the Reconstruction Acts in 1867, another one in 1868, and then another Reconstruction Act in 1871, and that, especially that 1871, where people say that the government became a corporation. So we don't all agree exactly where it got lost, but we do agree that it disappeared somewhere.
I think we all agree that it was strictly lawful back with the Articles of Confederation.
Absolutely.
And it was during that period of time, would you agree, Jim, that where the lawful government actually got away from the people and it was started on the path that it's now on?
Started in 1787 on the federal level, 1789 on the state level. When the U.S. Congress reaffirmed the ordinances of the Congress of Confederation. So you're basically having a government on the public side trying to reaffirm something on the private side. Most people don't realize there's just two sides of the fence. You have the public side, you have the private side. You have legal over here, you have lawful over the other side.
Then aren't you talking about, is this treasonous, Jim?
No, no. It would only be treasonous if you would impose from the private side to the public side. We're not doing that.
So in other words, the Union State Project has no intention of interacting with the public side.
Well, like God says, you're supposed to stay on your side of the fence. You're not supposed to trespass onto somebody else's territory. So we don't trespass over there. We stay on our side of the fence.
Okay. So Gus, aren't you afraid that somebody's going to come knocking on your door and take you to jail for doing what you're doing?
Well, I'm not afraid of that happening because of what I'm doing being illegal. But it is a legitimate concern because some people in the government might not like what we're doing. They might like things to be corrupted, and they might come after us. And so, you know, everybody has to do this according to my conscience is clear.
And you think of a lawful reason that they would be able to come after you?
Not one. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you something. The Union States Project is putting together a package of paperwork. That paperwork is, we have a website, www.unionstatesproject.org, and you know, we have our notices there as well as at The Hague and the United Nations and the UPU. But you know, once we've got this together, once our process is complete, we've got Pennsylvania. What are the states that are done? Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina,
Virginia, Connecticut,
New Hampshire. That's 6. So that's that. Those states have completed their process of giving a lawful notice according to what we've established so far. And once the other states are done, once they've completed their process.
Which other states?
The other states being Delaware.
Oh, the original 13.
The original 13.
Why is that necessary? Why are we doing the original 13 first?
Because that's the government that was established at the time. You have to go
before
back.
It became corrupt?
Well,
yes.
According to we're doing things according to the Articles of Confederation and picking up where they left off, right?
Which is recognized by treaty, private law, and the laws of nations. So that's why we're claiming our heritage and reestablishing ours.
Well, what about the rest of the United States?
Other territories.
They came in through the Northwest Territory, the Northwest Ordinance?
They never really came in because it was circumvented by U.S. Congress at that time, 1789, through the Northwest Ordinance. They should have come in as lawful states, but at that point it became corporate. And they came in to the corporate entity masquerading as a real government. And they primarily did that to tie the people to the debt at that time of the $16 million of the Revolutionary War.
Why is this going to make a difference? What makes you think that this is going to do any good?
Well, I don't think, if we don't bring a lawful government forward, and this government collapses, then we have no government.
You think this government's going to collapse, guys?
Well,
the one that most people know out here today, what they call a government?
I think the Federal Reserve is going to print the themselves into extinction, is what I think. And our foundation we were not supposed to have the kind of financial system we've got now. Each state, according to the Declaration of Independence, Article 2, each state is supposed to be a sovereign nation unto itself. They are supposed to be independent and sovereign. And right now, we've got the federal government running ramshot over all the states, just telling the states what they're going to do. And a lot of that has to do with the Federal Reserve System and the federal districts that have been overlaid over the Union states. And they've extended that through the Northwest Territory Ordinance over the rest of the states. So, once we come together in union again and are recognized as the people of the United States of America, not the people of the United States, the corporation, but as according to Article 1 of the Articles of Confederation, we are the United States of America. So the people of the United States of America need to do something. If you look at the Constitution, you have the people of the United States that came forward. I don't know who those people were, but they didn't. When you do court paperwork, you have to have everything. Dot the I's, cross the T's. Everything has to be just right. And there seems to, like Jim said, something in there got mixed up. So we're coming as the people of the United States under the lawful authority, under the Articles of Confederation as our foundation, where each state is sovereign. And once we reform that union, we're first order of business is to somehow bring the Constitution back in and bring the rest of the territories in as states. So I'm not sure exactly how that whole process is gonna work. I'm a drywaller. I've hung drywall for 30 years. I've studied a lot of stuff, just like Roy says. We've seen each other, we've listened to each other, we've listened to Aaron Russo and people like that, and William Wagner. William's done a lot of work on exposing a lot of the fraud that's out there. I was talking to him recently. He was telling actually he was on our call last week, and he was telling us about Iceland and how Iceland was a very solid government up until 2004, roughly, and the bankers went in there, did the same thing they did here, but the people in Iceland were in a much better position before the bankers were allowed to do what they did. So when 4 or 5 years later, when everything collapsed in Iceland, the people had not yet been dumbed down. So they chose to replace everybody, all their representatives, they replaced all of them for allowing this to happen. And those representatives put bankers in jail, forgave the debt of the country.
Are you planning on replacing your representatives and put bankers in jail? Is that what I'm hearing here?
Well, the lawful government, when we come together in union and bring the Constitution back in lawfully, it might not be exactly the same thing. And it might be exactly the same. I don't know how it's going to come in. But one thing I think we all agree on is that original 13th Amendment, that does a number on the citizenship of attorneys and people in places of nobility.
Well, who's going to make that determination? What's going to happen here? Who's running this thing?
We are.
Everybody.
We who?
We the people that get on board and stand up for their rights.
You've said it on the calls many times. There is no one person running the show.
Yeah, we the people.
We here are not the leadership of the Union States Project. I'm with an assembly in New Hampshire of a small group of people when you consider the scope of the population, and when you consider, if you got 30 people get together, that doesn't really add up to a whole lot compared. I've got 300,000 people just in the city I live in. The 10 people that got together decided, hey,
By the way,
we figured it out.
That's about the size of Iceland.
Is it?
Population, yes.
Well, the population in Iceland has a distinct advantage. Michael Warnken is a friend of mine in California, and he's talked about representation.
What proper representation is. And the ironic thing was, it kind of came down to watching a small state of New Hampshire deal with the judiciary there. They have a 5-man Supreme Court, and 3 of them were being impeached by their House of Representatives.
In Iceland, there is one state rep or representative for every 5,000 people. And when all you have is 5,000 people to answer to, those 5,000 people get to know you. Whereas, for instance, in New Hampshire, we have a state rep for every 3,300 people. But we have the bicameral government, Senate and House. And in the Senate, we've got one representative for every 55,000 people. So those people don't have, they're not so much in touch with the people. In Iceland, there's one rep for 5,000 people. Those 5,000 people in each neighborhood decided these bankers got to go. We got ripped off, and they did something about it, and they arrested bankers. They put bankers in jail and forgave the debt.
Is the Union State Project going to arrest bankers? Is that what I'm hearing?
That remains to be seen, but what I do know is that there's no statute of limitations on fraud, civil or criminal. There's no statute of limitations on fraud. That's public side. Private side, there's no statute of limitations on fraud, civil or criminal. The people on the public side feel they've been wrong, irregardless of what it is or where it is, they can establish the facts through administrative action, and they can take it to the appropriate authorities, which would be the lawful government at that time, through a grand jury or a common law jury. So people will be given redress of grievances if and when the time comes. But it's going to be up to the people to decide to bring the lawful government forward, hold these people accountable. There will be accountability with the judges, the lawyers, the politicians, or anybody else, because they will be beholden to their oath of office. The people will be the watchdogs of the law. If they feel that there's been a wrong committed, so all they have to do is take it before the grand jury or the common law jury. It'll be addressed swiftly, appropriately, and justice will prevail one way or the other. It's not going to take too much justice to bring the judges back into accountability, lawyers into accountability, politicians into accountability. The Bar Association is not going to be running the country. That's going to be abolished. The Judicial Conduct Review Boards are going to be abolished. There will be a commission of we people that will oversee lawyers and judges and politicians, not the couples that are handling it right now.
California.